thoughts of Mike Steph, this marks a new beginning. Thanks for supporting a total reinvention. The soul is still here, but the vibe's a little different. Unpredictable, hide the kids and the women. Sports of all sorts, music mixed with living. Rep New York City, but ain't the politician. Always bring the heat, Steph bacon in the kitchen. Big shout to y'all, I appreciate the listen. Donnie put the rest, but I'm still in the best. In the word of what I do, all y'all know the rest. I live it, I breathe it, I'm the whole definition. The pinnacle, the ultimate, I'm on a new mission. The salty thoughts of Mike Steph, featuring the one and only Mike Steph, the best in the world of what he does. Tap in.
No subliminal, your skills are minimal. I'm nice behind bars, but I ain't a criminal. Meet at the top, yep, the pinnacle. Get off my dick, talking genitals. In my crosshair, but take the high road. 12 months ticket, still in denial. I'm too kind, yo. Donnie was vile, bro. Petty residue was out of my mind, though. Punchline metaphors left to competitors. They puff, I'm the lock safe, drop from the second floor. Do it for the art, ain't a coaster I'm begging for. I'm nicer than those who drop on the regular. Go straight for the jugular. Veins my middle name. Just wanted to build. Forgot this a dirty game. Recycled this beat. It needed a little flame. Pain in my ass. What a low down dirty shame. I said, what a low down dirty shame. What up, people? Welcome to another edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast, featuring the one and only Mike Steph, best of what at what he does. Best in the world at what he does. And this week, I am your cult of personality. Man, I ain't gonna lie. I'm not in the greatest, I won't even say greatest mood, because I'm actually in a good mood. I'm not really feeling great right now. I'm still fighting this stubborn ass cold that kind of turned into bronchitis. So I'm actually going to try to make this shorter than, it's going to be more than a sprinkle, but a little bit less than a pour of salt, if you will. The only reason, to tell you the truth, that I'm deciding to drop this week instead of just saying, you know what, listen, I'm going to just forego this week. Ain't nothing really good to talk about. My New York Jets are garbage, trash, what have you. 3 minutes and 16 seconds in intro. So I was going to be like, you know what? It's not really that big of a deal for me to drop, or that big of a deal for me to skip a week, to just forego my commiseration of my New York Jets in their Black Friday debacle. But as luck would have it for y'all, the masses, an early Christmas present got bestowed onto my screen. I told y'all last week that this was going to be a wrestling-centric episode. I told y'all last week that I was going to give my off the top of the head, off the top of the dome, WWE Survivor Series War Games recap this week. It was going to be a wrestling-centric episode. I wasn't going to talk about my Jets, or I was going to give a little short thing about my Jets, but really it was supposed to be my wrestling-centric episode. But even with that, I was this close to be like, you know what? Shit could wait until next week. There'll be 1,000,001 wrestling podcasts, wrestling YouTube shows, wrestling entities, or wrestling personality entities that will be giving recaps, their little spiel on what happened this past Saturday on WWE's PLE event. So y'all wouldn't need to hear my salty thoughts on it. And tell you the truth, about 2 hours and 56 minutes into Survivor Series War Games, that was going to be the truth. War Games was brought to y'all from the great city of Chicago, Illinois. War Games. After the men's War Games, which featured the return of the apex predator, Randy Orton, after a year and a half on the shelf due to a career-threatening double back fusion surgery. There was the scuttlebutt, there's that word again, there was the scuttlebutt that there was one particular individual, one particular wrestling vagabond, if you could say, that resides, that makes his home, that's famously associated with the Second City Saint, if you will, CM Punk, who possibly, maybe, probably not, would make his return or an appearance at WWE Survivor Series. War Games. Now, the lead up to this, you was hearing from the Wrestling Observer and Fightful and PW Torch and, everybody else that there was not going to be any type of return of the Second City Saint himself, CM Punk. From what they have heard, the answer was a no. They did not. He was deemed toxic. He was deemed to be radioactive from his ouster from All Elite Wrestling, AEW. Tell you the truth, if you leave it to Tony Khan, he was damn near fugitive, because Tony Khan, last words on CM Punk was, he was fearful for his life. So, with all that being said, and especially, it had been 10 years, almost 10 years. Matter of fact, January would be 10 years that CM Punk had been on a WWE show, had been in a WWE ring, and technically, he still hasn't been in the WWE ring as of yet. With all the darts thrown back and forth, and there was plenty of darts thrown by CM Punk to WWE, nobody would really, in their right mind, thought that this was going to be a possibility. Vince McMahon is gone. Everybody knows about his storied history with Paul Triple H Levesque. And being the fact that WWE's been on a hot streak for the last 12 to 18 months, did they really need to bring CM Punk back into the fold? Did they really need to perhaps change the locker room chemistry with the acerbic one? There was a lot of questions to be asked. There's a lot of questions to be asked. But as of 2 hours and 56 minutes in War Games, the PLE, we thought we had that answer. That, I guess WWE was not bringing them back into the fold. So, right after the title screen, the preview, or should I say the promotion of, press conference in a couple minutes, you hear the familiar sounds of shh. I ain't gonna lie. I'm getting right to the shits. I told you, I'm going in and out. I ain't gonna lie. I was actually more than taken aback. Now, longtime listeners and viewers of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph, Salty Thoughts of Donnie Ooh, pretty much the Salty Thoughts podcast, on whatever iteration you're familiar with it from, everybody knows I am a CM Punk fan. I am a CM Punk enabler. I'm a CM Punk acolyte. Shit. Like, CM Punk is that dude. Is that dude to me. Listen, does he have his warts? Does he have his faults? Yeah, he does. But that's what actually attracts me to him. It's because he's unapologetically himself at all times. Can he be deemed a hypocrite? We'll get into that further down the line into this episode. But yeah, I was taken aback of, oh shit, WWE, they actually pulled the trigger. When I saw him come on the stage, if you will, I was flabbergasted. Flabbergasted, I say. I couldn't believe exactly what I was seeing. I'm not gonna lie. To see this man do his iconic pose, iconic sit in a WWE arena. Look at him. He looks refreshed. He looks focused. He looks hungry. He looks like he's on a mission. Look at the tear in his eye. Dare I say, that's the look of a man who realizes, okay, this is truly my last hurrah. This is my chance to prove everybody wrong and to prove myself to be ultimately right. That I'm not the bitter man that was portrayed by AEW. I am not the bitter man that left this same company that I'm returning to 10 years earlier. I'm not the man that was disillusioned by what this truly is. I'm a man in my mid-40s who have rediscovered the love of wrestling. And I'm looking into this crowd. I'm looking into this crowd in my home city, receiving the adulation of finally being home. Truly home. You see, CM Punk was never really meant to be in AEW, in my opinion. He was more of a circular peg going into a square hole. He was a star amongst mediocre talent. He was a star amongst flameouts, washouts, miscreants, and whatever type of wrestling personalities that decided to inhabit AEW. Look at this picture in particular. Triple H and CM Punk. 10 years ago, CM Punk was scheduled to face this man Triple H, this man Paul Levesque, in a quote-unquote main event of WrestleMania. It wasn't the main event, but it was a main event of WrestleMania. WrestleMania 30 to be exact. He decided he did not want that. He told Triple H to his face, I don't see you. I don't need to wrestle you. You need to wrestle me to be relevant. Now we fast forward 10 years from now. I mean, 10 years from then. Triple H is the head of creative, i.e., pretty much the kingpin of the WWE. Vince McMahon is no longer running the day-to-day operations. WWE is not a single entity. They have been absorbed into the Endeavor company. They are part of a company, along with UFC, who coincidentally CM Punk was employed for in his very, very brief, short MMA career. Yeah, I'm hopping all over the place, but that's because this subject is it's too much for one avenue. There's multiple avenues to go to. Like I said, I told you I was getting straight to the shits. I'm not even going to tell y'all how my week was because we can deal with that at another time. Matter of fact, while I have your attention right now, I want to let y'all know exactly how the rest of this episode is going to be. I am currently recording this 15 minutes before the beginning of Monday Night Raw. I am actually going to use the updated technology of StreamYard, and I am going to pause this recording at the very beginning of Monday Night Raw so I can see the fallout of Survivor Series, War Games. To see the potential fallout, the potential confrontation of one CM Punk with the current roster. In particular, CM Punk and Seth Rollins. Now, I'm going to have to tell y'all now, so therefore it makes sense when I resume this recording. Once CM Punk made his triumphant return, made his appearance on the stage, this was immediately preceding the end of the men's War Games match, in which Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Randy Orton, and Seth Rollins were the victors. Now, there had been multiple video clips of Seth Rollins' reaction upon the return of CM Punk, and needless to say, he was not a happy camper, or at least that's what it's been portrayed as. A couple months ago, Seth Rollins was interviewed by Nick Houseman of House of Wrestling about one Phil Brooks, aka CM Punk, and maybe the potential of him ever coming back to the WWE ecosystem, if you will. And Seth Rollins told him, we don't need him. We don't need that cancer in our company. You know, Philly, I see Philly's having great time over there. Let him stay over there. We don't need him. Now, immediately after that, Seth Rollins did say that, listen, if the opportunity ever arose that he would return to the WWE and the company felt like it was a good idea, it was good for all parties involved, you know, it would be what it would. It would be what it was. Other words, listen, the company brings them back. Evidently, they're going to do enough vetting to know whether or not that's a good idea. And listen, I'll roll with the punches. Doesn't mean I have to like the man. Doesn't mean I have to love the man. But we're both professionals and we will have to do what we have to do. That's the gist of what he said. So to play up on that perceived animus, he flipped out. He wigged out. Michael Cole, Corey Graves, numerous referees had to hold Seth Rollins back. Seth Rollins was given a double bird. At the same time that CM Punk was saying, hey guys, I'm back. How you doing? Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. It's been a long time. Of course, knowing how the dirt sheets are, Seth Rollins was working. Now, of course, everybody comes out the woodwork saying, "Yeah, that was pretty much a work." He knew that the cameras were going to be on. He knew prior to CM Punk returning that this was planned. So he was going to do everything in his power to make sure that money could be made over the perceived animus between us. He did the same thing to a lesser degree with Matt Riddle, who is no longer with WWE. Remember that one-on-one that they had? And Seth was like, "Look, your wife don't even like you. Even your kids don't even fuck with you." And Matt Riddle was like, "Hey, bro, I'm gonna fuck you up, bro." Yeah. So this is nothing out of the ordinary. There was a concerned look on Cody Rhodes' face. Cody knew. So with all that being said, and even there was even a video of Randy Orton, I would say mocking CM Punk's clobbering time, but he was looking, he was like, yeah, all right, it's time. So I'm going to pause it at the beginning of Monday Night Raw so I can get the very, very up-to-date info of what's going on, at least on screen. And then once they get into the show, I'll resume this recording to kind of tidy up everything. So yeah, that's what's on deck this week. It's nothing but CM Punk and the fallout from CM Punk. We'll talk about Randy Orton's return, which was great. Matter of fact, talk about it right now. Randy Orton came out. Matter of fact, we'll talk about it on the other side. So remember, after this slight break, which you will know, you'll just see a loop. But after this slight break, we will resume talking about the potential after effects of CM Punk's return, the potential showdown with him and Seth Rollins, potential hit in morale, perhaps, with the locker room, what this might mean for the WWE going forward on the road to WrestleMania, and whether or not this will affect AEW in a positive or negative way. I really didn't want to talk about AEW because at this point in time, for what? They made their bed. They got rid of them. They said, you know what? Sayonara. Real glass. Cry me a river. They did what they wanted to do. They moved on. Now they're stuck with a second show that's struggling on Saturday night that was specifically catered and cultivated for one CM Punk, who is now in the opposition. Some of his rivals in AEW, they got their way, but was it for the betterment of the company or for the benefit of themselves? There's a whole bunch of things to talk about. So, with all that being said, on the other side, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what I just saw on WWE Raw. Hopefully, it'll be noteworthy. And we'll talk about the potential of what's going to happen down the line. So, yeah, this is going to be a choppy, messed up mess. But listen, when it comes to messy, when it comes to helter skelter, when it comes to no rhyme or reason, that's what y'all fuck with me for. You know what? I am going to say I'm going to try to calm down on the profanity because I mean I listen. Salty thoughts of Mike Steph. Y'all know what y'all signed up for, and I'm going to give y'all exactly what you need with my dashing and debonair self. Shit, I'm so good looking. I have to pause this and just bask in my glory. So I'll be back.
I don't want to spend one more second, one more ounce of energy on that hypocrite. And when I mean hell froze over, I mean this is me standing in a WWE ring.
Well, I'm continuing mere seconds after the conclusion of Monday Night Raw. And you're probably wondering why I have this bewildered look on my face, why I have this quizzical, whimsical look on my face of, I wouldn't say it's not ecstasy, it's not enjoyment, it's not uh, pure jubilation. It's more of, I paused this episode for 3 hours expecting one thing and receiving another. So pretty much everything I said before didn't happen. There was no confrontation. There was no real um, insight to where CM Punk, at least storyline, is headed. You know, there was a little drop here, and I will say this: um, Seth Rollins did kind of take a little shot or speak his mind, as you saw, or hopefully if you heard, if this doesn't get blotted out on YouTube, calling someone a hypocrite. But it was pretty much, I wouldn't say paint by the numbers. It was just like, I guess I wouldn't even say a mission statement. But that's probably the best way to describe it. Um, Before I get into the meat and potatoes of CM Punk returning to the WWE, of exactly what might come of this, what's to be expected. What he said on Monday Night Raw was pretty much he was scared of how this was going to come off or how this was going to be reacted to, but that he had two words, and those two words, even technically three, was "I'm home." That for 10 years, the best in the world have not been there. And for 10 years, people were proclaiming themselves and trying to be the best in the world. But on Tuesday morning, when they wake up, they will be, and they will have the realization that the best of the world has returned. But besides that, besides all the proclamations of being the best, because at the end of the day, everybody knows that I'm truly the BITW. He said, and this is a key point, and tell you the truth, truer words have never been spoken. And that's probably why this person goes by the moniker of the wise man. He said, prior to him leaving, he was told by a wise man, Paul Heyman, if you read between the lines, that in order for him to get everything that he wanted out of the WWE, he would have to leave and come back. Part of his frustration prior to him leaving 10 years ago was the infiltration of quote unquote part timers, people that would come in, get the WrestleMania payday, the WrestleMania main events, and leave. And meanwhile, the full timers were left diminished. And tell you the truth, 10 years later, I'm not even saying I'm not going to put it in the category of part timers, but what he said was the wise man was correct. sometimes to be truly appreciated, your presence must be missed. I subscribe to that probably more nowadays than ever. Um, it was very short, maybe about 7 minute promo, if that. Um, the crowd was behind them for the majority. One thing you have to realize, or one thing that I should reiterate in my mind, and what the majority of people have to realize when it comes to the booking of Triple H takes his time. He lets shit marinate. So if there was a certain path Triple H was going on prior to the re-debut of CM Punk, he wasn't really going to divert, but so much. He's going to incorporate CM Punk into the plans, but he's not just going to rip everything up and go in a different direction, especially if the last couple months, especially the last couple weeks, more specifically, has led to where we're currently at. And I'm talking about the Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso situation, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But yeah, that was pretty much 3 hours of, I won't say bait and switch, but they're going to optimize their opportunity because you only really have one shot at this. And if you're going to, it's the same thing like when Cody came back, even though Cody let off, but you remember how they used to have the countdown clock of Cody is going to be on in 30 minutes, Cody's going to be on in 10 minutes, Cody's coming up next. It was more along those lines, not as outright as that, but it was along those lines. And you have to pretty much book in the two returns. You had Randy Orton lead off Monday Night Raw, and tell you the truth, rightfully so. And then you had CM Punk actually close and main event the show with the promo segment. So that was Monday Night Raw. I thought there was going to be more of a more newsworthy, more just content for me to go over, but there wasn't. So it is what it is. Now, CM Punk coming back to the WWE. I'm going to break it down like this. Hell has frozen over. Nobody thought it was going to happen. I believe he's going to be that much more focused on his legacy, whatever legacy that may pertain to. But his 2.5 years, more or less, well, a little over 2 years in AEW, he had the red carpet treatment when he first came in, and through, I won't say no fault of his own, but there was a culture clash. That's the best way to explain it. AEW, and this is not even going to be about AEW for the most part, but AEW, specifically Tony Khan, brought him into the fold because that was their big chip that they could have against WWE to a certain degree. The Moby Dick, the whale who cannot be contained, the whale who cannot be speared. They got him. They got his return after, at the time, 8 years away. 7 years away. Did they squander it? That's for y'all to decide. I personally believe so, but I am biased. I am not going to say I'm not. I'm WWE through and through. Look, I mean, shoot, do I have any type of AEW paraphernalia? No, I do not, except for the Elite. But that actually got that before AEW was born, but neither here nor there. It was a culture shock. It was a culture clash. You had the indie darlings, the people who spent the majority of their career outside of the WWE bubble, protecting what they created. And some would say rightfully so. And then you have, I won't say the personification of WWE, but you have the personification of mainstream coming into their bubble. And it was more like a fight over territory. But the man who holds all the cards, Tony Khan, allowed his ear to be swayed more by the outsider. CM Punk was never part of the inner circle, so to speak. Jericho knows how to manipulate himself and pretty much put himself in those conversations. Plus, he was a day one starter. CM Punk came with vision. Well, Tony Khan had vision of grandeur when it comes to CM Punk. Like, all right, their home base is Chicago. CM Punk is from Chicago. This is the one person that he felt that he can build the company around. And yes, he did attempt to build the company around, but there was so many cracks, so many holes that were exploited until the two worlds came together. Punk came from, he had spent 8 years under the WWE umbrella. The big time, the main event, the big top. The number one, matter of fact, the standard when it came to sports entertainment. The standard when it came to mainstream wrestling. This is where he came from for 8 years. To an upstart. And I believe he felt that he felt the need to say, okay, I see these pieces available and they just need to be rearranged a little bit. They need to be smooth out a little bit to make us ultimately successful. But there was a resistance. And time again, especially in the latter year of his tenure, it proved to be untenable. Someone had to go. And literally, the name of the company was All Elite. Was any other elite going to be shown the door? No, they weren't. And I think upon his return this past summer, he realized, okay, they're going to give me the show. I'm going to do the best I have with the show. But at the end of the day, I don't expect nothing that goes on here. I'm going to try to do to the best of my ability to make something out of this show that they're giving me. I want my roster of people, and I'm going to do me. Y'all keep that riffraff over there. But what it comes down to is structure. When someone believes in their abilities, when someone has the mind state of a CM Punk, the only way to contain or the only way to get the most out of them is structure, or they're going to run amok. I believe this return to WWE in reality has been in the makings for about 5 years. Hear me out. Remember when WWE SmackDown first debuted on Fox and they had the wrestling show. I forgot, Backstage. I forgot the name of the show. When you had Renee and you had Booker T He had CM Punk. CM Punk was an employee of Fox Sports. Fox wanted WWE to re-sign CM Punk. And Vince said, under no circumstances would I do so. Vince was ultimately the person who prevented this reunion happening years ago, which is ironic because Vince has always been under the mindset of there's always a chance. Never say never. You never know what will happen in WWE. But for his reasons at the time, he said, you know what? Not this time. I'm not going to bring him back. I believe that was the first instance of maybe the insight of CM Punk wanting to return, as he aptly said on Monday Night Raw, home. Now, you would think of all the slander, all the shots he's taken over the years. Remember, he had a lawsuit that went 2-3 years against the company for malpractice practices. What's going to be interesting is this deal that WWE still has with Saudi Arabia. Remember, he had a quip against toward the Miz, saying, "Yeah, you could suck on a blood money dick." Talking about the Saudi money. Is he going to wrestle in Saudi Arabia after he was a very, very vocal, outspoken, took a very vocal stance against people going to Saudi Arabia? That's going to be interesting. And this, like I said, this is coming from a CM Punk fan. Listen, but a spade is a spade. All the times he would say, or he would have a comment on situations that happened in WWE negatively. Now, I don't know. I think there was some type of sarcasm when he said tonight that everything has been all love in the back. You know, he even got a couple kisses on the cheek for his return. Trust and believe. That was sarcasm. But a couple months ago, there was a report that he did visit Monday Night Raw one time when he was on his, I won't say sabbatical, but before he returned to AEW off his injury, that he went backstage and supposedly tried to mend fences with numerous amount of talents until he was told that he had to leave. And it wasn't even so much animosity that the reason why he had to leave. Is just like, your contracted talent to our opposition. We don't want to be accused of contract tampering. You have to leave. And he did so. Once again, that was another snapshot inside the mentality of CM Punk wanting to return to the WWE. Some even said that upon his return to AEW, upon his return to Collision, that maybe, just maybe, certain things that was coming out negatively against him, maybe he was doing such things to get out of his contract. Maybe he realized, especially during that time, that nothing was ever going to change. He was going to be fighting an uphill battle the duration of his contract, and maybe perhaps his contract wasn't going to be renewed. Maybe he's looking for a golden parachute. Perhaps. The incident that happened at All In was the final straw. This thing of investigation. even as late as this weekend, Tony Khan was asked in an interview of his thoughts on CM Punk returning to WWE. And of course, Tony Khan hid behind, well, due to legalities, I'm unable to speak on that situation. I would love to, but unfortunately, I'm not. Just like for months and months and months, he was unable to talk about the situation that happened at All Out 2022, due to the internal investigation that, did we ever really find out what exactly happened? Did we ever really find out what was the findings of that investigation? No, we didn't. But it's neither here nor there. Now, going forward, you have a myriad of possibilities when it comes to CM Punk in the WWE. A myriad of matches you have. Of course, the Seth Rollins angle. Perhaps Cody Rhodes. Roman Reigns, if he chooses to be bothered. You have a plethora of main event pieces. For the first time, dare I say, and this is not hyperbole, but dare I say, the first time in over 20 years that you have multiple main eventers on the roster. We're not talking about just Cena or Roman Reigns or The Undertaker or, no, we're talking about an ensemble cast. Remember, we had Austin, Rock, Triple H, Undertaker, Kurt Angle back in the day. Now you have Cody, Roman, Seth, Drew, Sammy, the Judgment Day, Solo. I can go on. Brock. You can heat up Bobby Lashley if you ever wanted to, because Bobby Lashley has been already in the main event mix. You have a plethora of people that you can put. Listen, look at it this way. Roman Reigns hasn't been seen since the beginning of November. Roman Reigns probably won't be seen until the lead up to the Royal Rumble. On one hand, yeah, you do want your champion around, but on the other hand, you have all these other individuals that are able to carry a show when that numero uno is no longer there. I mean, it's not there. It's not totally beholden to one man. And is CM Punk going to be a face or a heel? Doesn't even matter, does it? He's going to be him. I believe, and you've seen this in the past couple months, Triple H isn't beholden to strict face versus heel dynamics. I mean, tonight we had Bronson Reed versus Ivar. Okay. How about this? Rhea Ripley, technically is a heel. Gets face reaction, but technically is a heel. They've been teasing a rivalry with her and Nia Jax, who's a full-blown heel. Hold on 1 minute. Forgive me because I've kind of lost my train of thought. Had to take care of something. But I guess what I believe I might have been talking about is the fact that you don't have to pigeonhole him in one role. He's going to be in the position of a top guy and actually get the respect of a top guy. He's going to be on his P's and Q's. He's going to be very professional. And like I said, there's a myriad of possibilities that you can run with when it comes to CM Punk versus this guy, CM Punk versus that guy. Also, and this is something that I'm going to mention. Maybe some people will mention it, some people won't. I believe, at least in this environment, he's not going to have to worry about, at least it won't be in the forefront of his mind, dealing with the quote-unquote wrestling media. Because one thing WWE does or doesn't do, unlike other companies, is quote-unquote cater to the wrestling media at large. Yeah, because he doesn't have to worry about the person in charge gunning for Book of the Year. He doesn't have to worry about some of his co-workers leaking stories of backstage unrest just for shits and giggles. Not saying that that doesn't happen in the WWE, but it's just a different type of ecosystem. He can literally, he's not being asked to help run the company. He's being asked to play his position and play it well. And I believe that might be the best outcome for everyone. Like I said, I kind of lost my train of thought, but it is what it is. It's surreal to watch Raw tonight and to hear CM Punk's name come out of Michael Cole's mouth numerous times. It's surreal to see the graphics on the screen. It's surreal to get an email from WWE Shop for CM Punk merchandise, which, yes, I'm not going to lie, I've already copped my own. Should be in the mail by the middle of next month. Yes. I need a new shirt. Listen, all the CM Punk shirts I have are a decade old. And tell you the truth, matter of fact, how about this? I had one shirt that I had never worn on air. And it's actually, for certain reasons, I choose not to wear it. But I actually pulled it out the archives today, and I was going to wear it. But for one of the reasons why I chose not to is because it's entirely too big. I think I bought that when I was like, what, 217, but I was stocky, and it was triple X. Yeah, not double X, triple X. I've never been a triple X, but being the fact when the double X starts fitting me a little snug, guess what? I wore a triple X. This is way back. So I'm like, listen, I finally got under the 200 pound mark. I am 198 and a half pounds right now. So I chose not to. Plus, had to go with the new dirt. Had to pull this one out the archives also. But it was just surreal. Like me and Main Event K was talking. And I'm going to speak for her. She said she actually turned Survivor Series off right before the music hit. She got fooled by the sign off. She said she cut it off, and all of a sudden she went online and she saw what happened. Boop, 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 boop. If you think about it, free agents, to a certain degree, when it comes to free agents, this one other, but this was one of two free agents that WWE could sign that is truly a needle mover. It's truly a moneymaker. Will Ospreay, yeah, that would have been nice for the hardcores. That would have been nice for the wrestling fans. To tell you the truth, I think for the wrestling fans, he's probably in the better position for the wrestling fans. Even though I would love to see him in WWE, but he would have to conform to a certain degree. And I just think after a while, it just wouldn't mesh. Jay White, I guarantee you, Jay White is probably regretting his decision to go where he ended up at. But teach his own. I think he probably was more suited for WWE than a lot of people realize. But maybe next go around. So you have CM Punk and you have Sasha Banks / Mercedes Moné. I believe with CM Punk returning to the fold, I believe it's more liable that Sasha / Mercedes, well, Mercedes / Sasha will return in the near future. The things that are going on with Bayley and Damage Ctrl lead me to that conclusion. So to get into the rest of the Survivor Series, War Games, I'm going to end the CM Punk conversation right now like this. In reality, this is the only thing. This is the only outcome that could happen. Did you really think CM Punk was going to go to New Japan? Did you really think that Impact was going to be the best place for him? Did you think he was going to turn around and go back to AEW? Did you think his career was going to be effectively over? I really strongly doubt that he wanted to have that blemish, this last blemish, this whatever happened in London to be the last time or the last thing on his resume for wrestling. Especially since that flame had got lit again. This is the only outcome. This was the only outcome. There's a lot of other things that probably is going to come to pass. And tell you the truth, with this return, that's probably going to allow me to talk about wrestling way more than I've done this year, way more than I've done in the last couple months. Because y'all know I used to always throw a wrestling episode more frequently than I have. Especially being affected my JET Jets are buried. You know, I'm about to say rest in peace to them in this season. I was kind of going to open up the floodgates of my content. So this is not the last that you'll hear from it. Shoot, remember in the previous iteration, I had Cody watch. Maybe I have Punk watch. Maybe that'll be a weekly segment to Salty Thoughts Mike Steph. Maybe it won't. Only one way to find out. But I'll leave with this. It's funny. I think this is probably the last. This is probably from the last episode that I talked wrestling from. So listen to this, and then I'll get back. I'll be back to tidy up, tie everything into a bow, and give my thoughts on the rest of what happened at Survivor Series 2023 War Games. The only reason why this is different than Brawl Out, as in he actually took action, the action of firing CM Punk, is because he was personally affected. He was personally threatened. And by all, look, he has every right. He's the boss, right? But you allowed how many months last year to simmer between the Bucks and Omega and Paige, both on screen and off screen. Everybody throwing little verbal shots. Everybody throwing their little passive aggressive shit. Everybody talking their shit, right? You did nothing to quell that. And in some ways, you probably encouraged it because on one hand, you was telling your VPs, look, I have y'all in that position for a reason. On the other hand, you're telling Punk, look, I brought you in here to shake shit up. You liked the tension because it didn't affect you. When people started going through whatever mental escapades they were going through, emotionally unbalanced or emotionally just disturbed, depressed, you didn't give a fuck about that, did you? You allowed that to simmer. Then when Punk got injured, you're like, you know what? No harm, no foul. He's out my ear for a while. Fine. You allowed him to dress you down in front of everybody, but you didn't feel threatened because everything wasn't directed toward you. It was directed toward Paige, the Bucks, Omega, Cabana to a certain degree. The reporters at the scrum. When he was sitting there eating muffins, drinking seltzer water. Nothing was directed toward you. Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. Anyway, Survivor Series 2023 War Games. We had 5 matches in total. We had the beginning match was the Women's War Games, which was a 4-on-4 battle with Damage Ctrl, consisting of Bayley and Asuka, Io, Sky, and Kairi Sane, seconded, thirded, fourthed, or accompanied by Dakota Kai. And then on the other hand, on the other team, you had Shotzi, Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and Becky Lynch. The team of Shotzi, Bianca, Charlotte, and Becky was victorious. There was 2 ongoing storylines in this match. One was the reconciliation of Charlotte and Becky, which, tell you the truth, I haven't heard much about behind the scenes. But once, to me, it became apparent once Becky joined Team Bianca, which Becky joined the same team as Charlotte, and it was actually on Charlotte to pick up the phone and call for backup, pick up the phone and call a long lost friend / long lost enemy. To me, that kind of let me know, it should have let the masses know that whatever turmoil they had behind the scenes, whatever butting of the heads they had coexisted because as of 2 years ago, they were out. And tell you the truth, seeing their reconciliation, at least on screen, seeing the hug during the match, seeing and hearing them talk at the press conference post-event, I ain't gonna lie, it kind of got me a little emotional because sometimes, matter of fact, I won't even say sometimes, friendships can be underestimated, especially when it's a true friendship. True, in their case, sisterhood, brotherhood, what have you. And to see, it was genuine. It wasn't, you could tell it wasn't just like storyline, it was genuine, like, all right, they've gone through some shit, they're picking up the pieces, and they're attempting to rebuild the foundation of a friendship. And that one, very important. But on the other hand, Damage Control, the storyline is they're pushing Bayley out. Bayley's gonna get it. Bayley's gonna get it. Because, and this is not even anything derogatory, but if you look on the side of Damage Control, one of these things are not like the others. One of these things are not the same. One of these things are not like the others. Now it's time to play our game. It's time to play our game. You have Asuka, you have Io, and you have Kyrie. And then you have Bayley. Bayley sees what's going to happen. She sees what the writing on the wall, but for all intent and purposes of this match, the stretch of the match was Bayley went above and beyond to save each and every member from being eliminated, each and every member from being beaten, pinned, submitted. Her single-handedly did all that. But at the end, none of her teammates were to be found when she got quadruple teamed. Took the finisher from Shotzi. Took the finisher from Bianca. Took the manhandle slam through a table from Becky. And was ultimately pinned 1, 2, 3. Post-match, a YouTube exclusive had Kathy Kelly interview Bayley, and Bayley said in these words, because when she was asked, like, how did she feel being on the losing end of War Games, she was like, well, it would have helped if teammates were around to help her. No one was be found. Even backstage during the interview, Bayley was by herself, iced down, and said she was going to ice down some more. And her teammates were nowhere to be found. Everybody knows what's going to happen. And that's what brings me to, if Mercedes does come back sooner than later. Remember, Royal Rumble's right around the corner. I don't know if she has any more commitments to New Japan, but I know she's not on the contract for AEW. And tell you the truth, I think with her seeing what's going on in WWE, I think if she was going to be AEW, she would have been there already, whether she was injured or not. But women's division, there's no reason for her to be locked in. And she's probably counting the lucky stars. She did not lock herself in, because there's numerous amount of talents on that side that rue the day that they signed their name to a 3 to 5 year contract. But neither here nor there. I think before that could be a possibility, I think it's lining up for them to kick Bayley out and for her to be with the other horsewomen, Becky and Charlotte, to go against Damage Control. 3-on-3. Dakota Kai is going to be the one who kicks her out officially, because right now Dakota Kai is the spokesman of Damage Control, the position that Bayley once inhabited. Remember, Bayley's the one that brought them together. Bayley's the one that brought them up, and now she's on the outside looking in. Pretty good match, damn good match. Next match was Santos Escobar versus Dragon King. Damn, is that his name? Dragon King? Oops. I don't forgot that man's name. I think it is Dragon King. Yo, I'm bugging. But this was more of it was supposed to be Carlito versus Santos. They took Carlito out at the last minute due to an angle on SmackDown. And to tell you the truth, work rate rise, this is a better choice. But if anybody thought Santos was going to lose, no, you can't. That would be setting him up for failure. Who's going to be his cohorts? Who knows? There's scuttlebutt online, but I'm not going to get into that. But right now, Santos has to be built up for the ultimate confrontation with him and Ray. when Ray gets healthy, Ray, LWO. Santos, LWO. Carlito, no LWO. Yes, he's part of the LWO, but as Santos said, I don't see no colors. You came in and you took my family away from me. Santos has always been better as a heel anyway. And in order for them to build him up and get him to where he ultimately should be in the confrontation between him and Ray, there's no way in hell he could have lost this match. So pretty good match, 8-9 minutes, fair. Then you had Gunther versus The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. And this is a 12-minute match. Can't really complain. Miz, nobody thought that The Miz was going to win. The Miz did have a couple hope spots where he kicked Gunther in the Family Jewels, did the skull crushing finale, and got a close 2.5 count. But one thing with Gunther, when it's time for Gunther to put you away, it's no five moves of doom. Gunther powerbomb you, choke you out, crack you in half, chop the shit out you, myriad of ways. And this time he decided to make The Miz humble in the, not the camel clutch, but more the lion tamer. He made The Miz humble. And humble The Miz he did. Even though it looks like this feud might continue based on the actions of what happened tonight on Raw. And then we had Rhea Ripley successfully defending her World Women's Championship against Zoe Stark. Pretty good match. Nothing out of ordinary. Zoe always has a great moveset, but nobody in their mother thought that she was gonna actually beat Rhea because you got a couple more matches down the line for Rhea. You have the Nia Jax matchup. You have them seem like they're setting up Shayna Baszler to be Rhea's next opponent. And of course, probably further down the road, probably talking about WrestleMania, we're going to have Becky Lynch probably against Rhea Ripley for WrestleMania. So, good to get it on the card, but the outcome was never in doubt. And then, of course, we had the winning team, like I told you. We had Jay and Sammy and Seth and Cody and the returning Randy Orton victorious against the Judgment Day, the team of Finn Balor, Damian Priest, JD McDonough, Dirty Dom, and Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is not a part of the Judgment Day, but Drew McIntyre sold his soul to the devil, so to speak, to get his hands on Jey Uso, which kind of bled over to tonight for Drew. I won't say officially turning, but officially blowing his gasket at Seth over Seth announcing that he was going to defend his title next week. Drew respectfully asked him for a rematch. Seth said, yes, you do deserve a rematch, but there are people in front of you. And my next title defense will be against none other than Jey Uso. Ain't that a bitch? And that caused Drew McIntyre to flip his lid, headbutt Seth Rollins, bust himself open hard way, and Jay had to come for the save. I started laughing because even Drew, everything Drew is saying is technically correct. He's not lying. He's not fabricating it. He said, look, I just beat Jay last week. How is he getting a title shot before me? This has to be personal. You don't want me to win. You don't want me to shine. There was a spot backstage where Sammy confronted Drew and said, Drew, listen, I don't know what's going on with you. This is not the way, brother. Listen, every bit of disappointment that you've had, I've had as well. You got screwed by the bloodline in front of your family at home. I got screwed by the bloodline in front of my family at home. You faced Seth and came within a second of becoming world champion. I faced Seth and came within a second of becoming world champion. Difference is, I'm not a spoiled brat. Difference is, I'm going to keep on climbing that ladder to become world heavyweight champion. So Drew said, you know what? I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go into Adam Pearce's office and I'm going to request a match. I'm going to request a match against you. And if a couple weeks ago their match, is any inclination of what is on deck next week, it's going to be very interesting. Also, the Jay versus Seth match is going to be interesting for two reasons. Where Randy cost Jay his opportunity to become world champion, because Randy said, yeah, bygones are bygones, but everybody knows Randy is itching to catch Jay with an RKO from nowhere. That's number one. Number two, you think Drew is going to allow Jay to win that world champion, that world championship on his watch? No. And also, CM Punk, his intentions were not put in place, were not put out there this week. World championship match. Maybe he decides to get involved. So those two matches, the Drew, Sammy, and the Jay Seth match. Listen, I can't say enough. That's a good start for next week. So yeah. Survivor Series, War Games. It's in the books. And it was an okay, man. I mean, it was an okay event. Like, to me, it was better than Crown Jewel. Crown Jewel, I don't know. I just couldn't get into that. Was it better than, Fastlane? No, Roadblock. I don't know. Whatever the October offering was. Yeah. Perhaps. Payback. Payback was all right. But there's still something missing, and maybe that something missing will be refound with the acquisition of CM Punk into the mix and going into the lead up to the Royal Rumble. You got to kind of put all your ducks in a row, and this holding pattern we've been in for the last 4 to 5 months is starting to sift itself out, and hopefully for the better. So, yeah. Now, outro. Thank you. That brings us to the end of another edition of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for making me and this here podcast the one y'all choose to listen to. Next week, hopefully I actually really will get back on my regularly scheduled time of late Sunday night, early Monday morning. Like I told y'all at the beginning, shoot, I really wasn't feeling great yesterday. I could have half-assed it, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? Let me kill two birds with one stone. Get myself a little bit more prepared. Give y'all the episode that y'all need, the episodes that y'all deserve, and really give y'all a good offering. So that's why I put that little. Check out the community tab on my YouTube page at Mike Steph. for any updates that might come when it comes concerning the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph. You can check me out on Instagram, yeah, but more often than not, check me out. Well, check out the community tab on the YouTube page of Mike Steph for any updates concerning Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. Like this. Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast is available on the following platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, amongst others. New episodes drop each and every Wednesday, for the most part. You can check me out on social media platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, at Mike Steffens _. You can check me out on the gram at Mike _Steph, and you can check me out on TikTok at Mike Steph _. Speaking of the audio version, speaking of me talking about football, check out Hidden Gems Football, hosted by the Mojo King and myself, Mike Steph. New episodes drop each and every Thursday on the YouTube page of the 19 Media Group and all, and when I say all, I mean all streaming platforms wherever podcasts are available. Concerning the audio version of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast this week, I'm feeling benevolent, and I'm going to give y'all a special audio only sprinkle of salt talking about this past weekend's action in the National Football League concerning the two, that's right, not one, but two New York teams. My New York Jets and those G-Men who raised their record to the record of 4-8 with a victory over Bill Belichick and those New England Patriots at home by the score of 10-7, with Tommy DeVito leading the way to victory. Yeah, so be on the lookout for the audio version, the audio only, Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast, sprinkle of salt version, dropping this Wednesday on all streaming platforms wherever podcasts are available. Before I get out of here, I'd like to give a shout out to those gentlemen, to my brothers from the Gimmick Infringement Podcast, Winchester and McDowell. Check them out on the YouTube page of the 19 Media Group. Check out their Survivor Series recap. You'll be glad you did. And tell you the truth, if I was not under the weather, I really was going to hit them up, because tell you the truth, this is like the year anniversary mark of my last appearance on that podcast. And, you know, not to toot my own horn, but I'm a big four guest. The first time they brought me on was the WrestleMania preview. The second time they brought me on was the Survivor Series recap. So I'm aiming towards the Royal Rumble, but this would have been the perfect opportunity. But it's not about me. Check out the brothers from Gimmick Infringement, Winchester and McDowell on the YouTube page of the 19 Media Group. And I'm trying to get this like campaign for them to be a part of one of these media scrums. Yeah, because I just feel like they I'm talking about matter of fact, media scrum of AEW or WWE, because my bias is not their bias. They're very unbiased. But I put it out there. Hopefully I'll put it out in the universe and somebody will snatch it and actually bestow them the honor, or matter of fact, or will receive the honor of them attending one of their scrums. Yeah. While I'm at it, shout out to the Black Wrestling Podcast. Shout out to the homie Cal, Fam, Math, Queen Mimi. Check them out each and every Thursday, BRP Live, on the YouTube page of Black Wrestling. Salute. And with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here. You know, I'm actually shocked because today was one of those days that I actually got a fresh cut. Y'all might not see it, but it's all right. I know it's there. My wife knows it's there, and the masses know how dashing the dashing one truly is. So, with all that being said, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to bid y'all adieu. In my Barry White local voice, you know, the quiet storm, quiet storm. 'Cause he's an easy lover. He got your hold on you, believe it. Like no other. Have you on your knees. 'Cause I'm just a gigolo. And everywhere I go, people all know about me. Pay for every dance, selling each romance. Ooh, what they say. It will come a day when youth will pass away. What would they say about me? 'Cause the end comes, I know. I'll be my wife's gigolo. Life goes on without me. 'Cause you want to say bye to the people?
Bye.
You heard her. You heard that sweet sound of success. Bye. Bye. Goodbye.
Bye.